All right, looks like we got it. I'm operating tonight kind of on my own. Okay, Jill is at a conference down in Georgia with one of my sons, and so the rest of us are here holding down the fort. And so I wasn't sure what I was coming into tonight, but Rachel's got this thing set up just right. Okay, so good. Today is the 25th of April, 2022. This is the Anyone Can Farm chat, and I am Mark, your host, and Lenny Racine is with us. Welcome. Welcome. Okay, so let's see. Angus with us, right on. Good. All right, Justin, welcome. I'm going to do a different kind of show tonight, I think, and the gals. All right, I'm good.
Okay.
It's working.
I'm not sure if you're.
I'm on. Don't bother me. Yeah. No, it's working. All right, Bethany's with us. Good. All right, so I was I'm working on an irrigation or a water project today. I even made a video of it and I put it on the tribe, so you can see what I was doing today if you want. But extremely important for me to have water distributed everywhere so all the animals can get what they need. And in the last couple of years, I've just been using it the way it was. And I kept thinking to myself, I want to change this because it would be better if I did. And I want to change this. And I'm really into dividing things in half. Like what I did with the dog fence really made a lot of sense, because then I have a separate system over there and a separate system over here. So it builds redundancy into it, and chances of the whole thing going down is pretty slim. And so long as the whole thing doesn't go down, they're always going to assume that they've got a problem. So the system that I have on the farm now, I have one big well, and then I have two frost-free lines. So the line that goes to those lines is buried down about 5 feet, so it doesn't freeze up in the wintertime. And then another leg of it comes to the house, and we use it for our water in here. Everything else is seasonal. So I just use a 3/4 inch line. That's right. I said in the video I was going to show you how that works today too. All right, Ben's with us, and DeClerc's with us. Right on. DeClerc's. Hey, we need to announce your thing there, Beth. We need to announce that. Can you put that up in the tribe? Because I think there's a lot of people that would be interested in that. Hey, Nancy. Beth's going to do a class down at her place of how to get started in your garden, and I'm going to go. Me and Jill are going to go. I just want to go. I think it'd be fun. I'm not a real good gardener. I'd like to be. The garden class, yes, please. And also, we need to start talking about the Homestead hog harvest down at DeClerc's too. We're going to be doing that in the fall. I don't know, but it's scheduled in. You got a full class, I guess. Good. I'm really looking forward to it. Don't know if I'll have my schoolie by then. Things got kind of jammed up because of COVID. Yeah. All right, so that's what I was doing today. I was getting this all squared away, and it's it falls right in line with what I talked to you guys about. I have a little bit of free time, so I'm going to fortify my position. Not exactly free time, but it's time where I can make it better, right? And the area where I moved a lot of the water out of was from a long time ago where I thought we were going to be doing something, then we actually did. I used to think that I wanted the cows to stay out. And then I figured out that, well, if we provide water for them out in the field, then they don't come back to the barn. And that means someone's going to go get them every day to milk them. But if the water is at the barn, they go out in the morning and then they come back and they hang around during the barn, or around the barn at night. And then we get them milked in the morning, a lot of times, not all the time. So we didn't know that until we started doing it that way. And then we found out that there's no reason for them to come up to the barn. They don't really like getting milked. But anyway, we figured that out. So a lot of that water line that I put way down into the back, I didn't really need it. So we haven't taken all of it out, but I took enough of it out that I could use up here close. And so that's what I was doing. But when I went to the store today, I had to pick up a few things. I'd gotten quite a bit of it done yesterday and last night. I stayed out pretty late last night working on it. And then I ran out of parts. So I went to the store and I was talking to a guy that works there, you know, and he had been talking to somebody about food shortages. And then he talked to me, and then I went back to looking at the parts I was looking at, and I really didn't want to get in a conversation. I really want to get this job done. But I overheard the conversation, and apparently, and I confirm this, food shortages are like front and center. I mean, they're talking about that, I think, more than they were talking about the Wu flu, I think. Because I put in food shortages and I did a search on it, and there was all kinds of new videos. And a lot of them were homesteaders that I'd never heard of. So I did get a chance to listen to a couple of them and see what they had to say. I get the feeling like a lot of people don't believe the mainstream media, but they're still listening to the mainstream media. And a lot of this seems to be coming from the mainstream media. Of course, the president did say, you know, there's going to be food shortages, and didn't really start looking around for any solutions to the shortages. So we pretty much get the feeling like they want food shortages. They want to bring us into austerity conditions. And I think everybody gets that now. It's not like Americans aren't smart enough to figure this out, and they have the ingenuity to kind of work this out. They do. So I think the way this will work is sort of like, and this is just a personal opinion, and this isn't the gist of this conversation, but I think what'll happen is they're going to say, wow, look at all these processing plants that have mysteriously caught on fire and planes crashed into. And then we'll say, ooh. And then what they will do is they will throw a monkey wrench into the supply chain, and we will perceive of food shortages, and people will go hog toilet paper wild. And people will just be buying a lot, and then they're going to have to say, oh, we got to restrict it. And then, you know, of course, the media will be able to say, you know, catch people fighting and, you know, whatever. They'll be able to really make it look really good. Will Americans go hungry? Americans are going hungry right now, you know. So, and to go hungry in this country, you got to work at it. You really got to work at it. There's so much food that's thrown away in this country. It's unbelievable. And that is the sign of a country's wealth is how much food they are able to produce and how much they do produce. So I think that's where we're going. You know, I don't think there's going to be real food shortages. I don't think you're really going to be going to bed hungry. I don't think we're going to really see famine, and that is an opinion. I listened to Ice Age Farmer today, and I also listened to Canadian Prepper, and they seem to be really pushing it, but then they also sell food too. They sell the solution. So I don't know. I don't know. I don't know about that. I just don't know. I don't know. It doesn't. I don't get a good feeling when I hear it. But how would they know? They're just guys like me, probably. So here's what I think about this. Here's what I think that I would do if somebody came to me and said, "Oh, well, what do you think I got to do? I want to do something." What I would say, first of all, lay in some short-term stuff. I mean, you can take $100 down to the store and buy rice and beans and put it someplace, and then you know that's your fallback position. You know, you can survive on a handful of beans and a glass of water. You can go a long time on that, just like that. I'd say number two would be to start thinking along the lines of what is our, if these guys are our enemy, if this wasn't just lightning that hit these buildings, I guess there's 53 of them since like 2019 that have gone down. Is that enough to starve out the country? No, not even close. But it is a choke point, and it could possibly be that somebody has done that. I don't think that would be too hard of a sell. So let's say that you're a prize fighter and you go in the ring and you have a bandage on your side, and maybe it's just fake. You put a bandage there. Your opponent will be drawn to that weak spot on you, right? So the weak spot in this country, as far as the food system goes, is processing. It is. It's not could be. It's not maybe. It is the weak spot. And we saw a lot of attacks against that weak spot during the Wu flu. So why wouldn't they hit it again? Maybe they were just probing it. Maybe. And I don't know what's going to happen. There's nothing we can do about it. If they decide that they're going to figure out some way of sending out their commandos and systematically knocking off all the processing centers, there's not much I can do about it. But if somebody was to say to me, well, what do you think I ought to do? The first thing I'm going to say, the first thing I'm going to think, let's say I have a line of people that come to me. I'm going to look at them and I'm going to think, okay, this is the first priority that we need. Does this guy look like he could do this, or gal look like they could do this? And I don't mean necessarily butchering cows, butchering pigs, butchering shit. I don't necessarily mean that. There's other food that has to be processed. See what I'm saying? If you have a vehicle and a maybe a small trailer, or let's say you just have a man van like I got, and you're able to search out people like Infinity Farms over here in Falmouth. He produces a lot of food. He's good at growing stuff. That's Bryce when you see him on here. He's not with us yet. He usually comes in late. He's a hardworking guy, Bryce. Just a guy like that. And you call him and say, I'd like to somehow work a deal with you. What is it that you have a lot of that I could buy from you? And let's say he says he's got, I don't know, squash, let's say. We've got a lot of squash at the end of the season. Okay, well, what do you got in the summer? Well, I got green beans. Out the green beans, yeah, a lot of green beans. Okay, well, what do we have to do to process green beans? There's probably 5 different ways that you can process those green beans. So you might not be somebody that is equipped or capable of processing pigs and cows and chickens, but can you process green beans? What does that take? Well, Green beans, sometimes you blanch them and freeze them, put them in Ziploc bags and freeze them, you know. Sometimes you make pickles out of them. You put them in a brine in jars and bam, you've got, sometimes you, like Jill does, she cans them. So she snips them all and then puts them in jars and then pours hot water over them and puts them in the canner. Boom. There's all kinds of different processes that if right now you said, hey, I got everything I need to do that. I have a kitchen with a counter. Most houses do, or apartments. And I got a car. And I could drive around and I could find canning jars and lids and all that stuff. And I could really start processing some serious stuff. And in a short period of time, you would have everything that you would need for several years. Then what do? Then you put together a warehouse and you start processing this stuff for, you know, for sale, right? And then you might say, well, how am I going to sell it? Well, you know, think. I can't lay the whole thing out for you. I can think of about 5 ways that you could sell it. There's this thing called Facebook that everybody seems to be on all the time. And if you put up a picture of a bunch of jars with pickles in them and you say, needs to be rehomed in this area, you might find somebody that says, hey, I got a little store on my farm. If you want to bring them over, you can put them on the shelf here and I'll take a small commission, but my customers need that stuff. Actually, I need somebody to do that for my store, but I don't have it built yet. And things have slowed down a little on that because we can't get lumber because we don't have logs, right? It could change any day, you know. Things are changing constantly. I'm not saying it's not going to happen. It's just right now, we had to reprioritize, which is fine. And we are working on some pretty cool stuff. But a processing center like that could be a very profitable and necessary function. You know, you don't know where that could go. If you had a bigger place and then you could start getting, you know, more stuff and you had somebody helping you going out to the farm and getting stuff, bringing back, you could be making tomato sauce. You could be canning, you know, you could work with a farm like ours that we kill our own beef and then I can chunk it up and say, oh, you want to can this? Cool, because we don't have time to do it. You can this stuff and then it goes in the store, you know, and let's say you get a cut of the meat or you get a cut of the dollars that it brings in. I would think a can, I don't know how much it would cost, but it's really good stuff. Jill cans meat and it is so good. She cans chicken too that's out of this world. If you don't, I'm almost thinking that we should be running this function here too, but we have enough to do. We cannot really take on another thing. I could probably put somebody to work in the shop doing it or allow them to use the shop. But that, I don't know if that would work because we use it a lot as well. We use it every single day. We use our butcher shop every day, not necessarily for butchering, but for other things. So I don't know if I even want to put that out there right now. But I wouldn't mind once the kitchen is built, the commercial kitchen that we're building, once that's built, that might be an option for somebody. All right, so let's see. We got Andy's with us. We got Keith, Ben, and I'm not reading that correctly. Couldn't be what I think it is. Gail, is that Gail or Gall? I'm not sure if that's an I next to the L. People have been wasteful a long time. Used to work at a restaurant and not just the workers throwing food out. The customers would overfill their plates on seconds and go just leave. Yeah. You know, part of the conversation I had with this guy today was that waste is the hallmark of America. It really is. I mean, people live so far above their means. It seems to be the norm to live above your means. Now, I am not the richest guy in this county, that's for sure. There's not even close. But I'm not the poorest guy either. And when I take my kids to like football practice, I am really amazed at the vehicles that some of these 30-year-old moms are driving. It is amazing to me the payments that they are making on these things. And I know that that's just it. I mean, they want to appear to be that way, but then they're making $700 worth of payments on a Denali Yukon, and you see an awful lot of that around, and it's just like, gee, doesn't your husband work at the co-op? I didn't know they paid that good over there. But you see a lot of that, and that is the hallmark of Americana, is living way beyond your means. That's what credit cards are for. But in these times, one of the things that I think a person should start doing is that if this happens to us, they're doing it. And it's just like they did with the Wu flu. They had it all planned out. And we find out about it a little late. And I think they gauge that they're going to really hurt a lot of Americans, because a lot of Americans don't really care about this. They still don't care about this. So I don't know if people will starve. I think it's just going to be an inconvenience thing. I think it's going to be very inconvenient, because you're going to wind up having to go to the store 3 times a week, because you can't get enough one day a week. And everybody else is the same way. So that means there's going to be long lines, and you're going to have just a little bit of stuff. I've heard recently that the whole self-checkout thing is not working out very well, because people have figured out a way to fool it. And that's going on. So that's good, because I think they should have checkouts. Okay. I was going to ask if I could get a couple volunteers. I would think if we could get, okay, Nicole's with us. I'm going to ask you to volunteer. I'm going to actually pick you as a volunteer. I'm going to pick Nicole, Andy, and Justin. And I want you, and Nancy, okay, 4 years. I want you to be the devil's advocate in this. Everything that I've said. I want you to pose the question that people are thinking, and that way I can give the answer to it. Because there might be somebody that's saying, hey, you know what, I could do that, or I could do something like that. But then they think, yeah, but I don't want to get in trouble, So ask these questions, please, for what I've just said. Use your kitchen and use your time to process something that is available around, that you have people producing. Or maybe you go to the store and they have a great big sale on beans, and you buy and bring them home, and then you preserve them, right? You've just added value to them. And now maybe you could even start your own little food buying club. Or maybe it's you and 3 other households that are working together to make sure that there's plenty of food on the table, or making sure that you have options. Maybe that's a better way to put it. Making sure that you have options. I don't know. Think about it. There's all kinds of different ways to do it. Another thing that could be done, I think Lorna and I were talking Sunday morning, and she said that at the store that she goes to, that a pack of pork chops was something like 18 bucks, and it was just 4 pork chops. And I thought, wow, that's really expensive. She says, yeah, but then you can go to the auction and you can buy a whole pig for 150 bucks. So what does that indicate? That indicates that there's really not a shortage. It's just that, you know, there's always the factor here that, you know, the Russians and the Ukrainians, and so, hey, let's just jack the price up. People won't notice. Or we can say that, well, that's because of the Russians. We'll jack the price up. We'll make a little extra too. You never know. You never know. I shop at stores, and I heard one of the guys say, well, I don't want to cast doubt on the store because it's really a good store. But let's say that you have a store and people are complaining about the prices. And the people at the store are like, hey, we don't make the prices. This is what we have to get our margin on here. And so we have to mark it up to make our money. But you never know. You never know. They might just jack it up anyway. I was noticing 7/16 OSB at Home Depot, which, by the way, is hassling me about my 10% off because I'm a veteran. Anybody else having that problem? That's raw. You know, they give you something and they take it away. I'm supposed to go online and do something so I can wave my phone over the register or whatever, because too many people are faking it. How do you fake it? Anyway, Lorna was saying that, yeah, you could buy a pig for 150 bucks. So what would it take? I mean, let's say you do the processing thing, or let's say you've come to one of our classes and done processing, but you don't have a farm yet. So you learn that skill and you're like, hey, I can do this. So you take a $150 pig, you bring it back to your residence, and you slaughter it, and you do all the things to it that you need to make it into usable table fare. You've just added a lot of value to it. Let's say you take a $150 animal, let's say it's 300 pounds, and so you come out with something like 225 pounds of usable meat, and your average price on that could be somewhere around $5 a pound. You're making good money. You're working for it, but those are the people that survive, the ones that think of get an idea in their head, and then they execute it, and then they survive. Okay. Let's see if there's any comments yet. Any devil's advocate comments yet? Okay. Okay. I was just looking at wanting glassing eggs to preserve them for winter. Yep, water glassing. Jill did. Jill did a video on that. Nicole's with us. It's interesting, so I'll give it a try. Okay. We do it. We've been doing it for years. I've eaten 2-year-old eggs that you couldn't tell the difference. Okay. Okay, this is a good one. Andy, he's doing it. I am not equipped to grow or process food. I got no time for that. Then I suppose that you should just listen to what President Biden says, and you're at his mercy. Have a nice day. You got no time for that. So, okay, I and this is Andy's being devil's advocate here. He's doing exactly what I want him to do. If bowling is more important than eating, then go bowl. Don't worry about it then. Just you won't worry about it until it happens and you're hungry. I don't know if it's going to happen. I'm kind of thinking part of it's going to happen. So there you go. And in the first part, he says, I'm not equipped to grow or process food. Then get equipped. Get your equipper. Get it fixed. Okay? Dion, why are you fear-mongering? Why aren't the main news outlets talking more about this? Why are you only right-winger talking about Victory Garden? You're being kind of mean there. Well, first of all, I don't think I'm fear-mongering. I don't think I am. I think this whole thing has been an exercise in looking at the storm clouds on the horizon and then listening to whatever we can. And, I did hear this conversation this morning and talked to this man, and then I did a quick search on it, and that's what everybody's talking about right now. So it is out there. It's not just me, and you know that. And the main outlets, news outlets, they are talking about this. That's what gives me pause to say maybe it's a double cross, because at this point, why would we listen to anything they say? And so maybe if they really did want us to bring us down this road of famine in our country, kind of like what Scott Kesterson said, and I don't know how well connected he is. I really don't. I don't hang out with him exactly, but he seems to be in the know on some things. And he's moving that direction quick. I think the last time I saw a picture of him, he was behind actually, I got a picture of him right here. I can show you this picture. This be interesting for you guys. I'll tell you what, Scott Kesterson bears a striking resemblance to Jack Spirko. That is Scott Kesterson right there. And he is sawing a pig. I mean, you might not pick that up unless you've seen pictures like this before. So he's putting his money where his mouth is, and I'm pretty sure that he's got a piece of land and he's going to build a butcher shop on that. So, okay, why are only right-wingers talking about victory gardens? Usually right-wingers, as you put it, right-wingers, are a little bit more solution-orientated. When you search for solutions, it brings you to that point. When you just exercise the solutions that they give you, like a lot of my lefty people that I know, they would post pictures of them walking their dog in Boston with a face mask on and be very proud of that. Like, I'm doing what I'm told. Look at me. And I'm all by myself. I'm 6 feet from everybody else. They're very proud of that. They're very compliant. And a lot of times they're part of the left. They're part of the left's machine, right? So in a lot of ways, they have to present that image to be taken seriously amongst their peers. Like, look at how left I am. Look at me with my rainbow suspenders on. I am so left. They even pick up a slight lispy accent. By the way, I don't know. Somebody, actually, it was Keith, posted a meme about you can't get eggs from two roosters and you can't milk a bull, or I don't remember how it was, but somebody on the tribe actually reported it as hate speech. And so that was my first dealing with that. That's why I was talking to Lorna on Sunday. I wasn't really sure how to deal with it because it seemed like whoever saw that it was the meme, it was about animals. It had nothing to do with humans. They weren't slamming homosexual behavior. That wasn't it. And so that was a bad thing. But what we did, because it's a private group, gone. They're totally out of here. But I did look at her profile, and she was, well, the name was, it was Susan. I don't remember the last name right now. I don't remember. But the first name was Susan, so it seemed like it was a female. But then when you looked at the picture, it was like, it looks like a guy. And so you kind of think, well, maybe that's her husband or something. So you looked a little further, and like you couldn't really figure out who was who until you got into like the incessant selfie pictures. And then it was obviously, you could see a transition from just a kind of a homely female to with long hair and women's clothes, and obviously had that shape of femaleness, to a short-haired, yeah. So obviously some dysphoria there about which bathroom to go in, and so yeah, you got to play the game. Somebody puts up a meme that you are offended by, and you call it hate speech, and Facebook respects that. They like that stuff. They think hate speech is probably in the Constitution. I got news for you though. Hate speech is protected under the First Amendment. It really is. There's nothing that I can't say. All right. So Ben, let's see. Check out our homesteading family. Carolyn has a good video on water glassing eggs. Ben, if you have videos, post them up on the tribe. No problem. No problem at all. I mean, it all works for the mission. Okay, Nancy says, I don't have time to start seedlings early, so I'll just throw them on the ground and hope for the best. All right, well, that's the same kind of attitude as, I'm going to, you go and buy a car and you just, the first one that has the price on it. I mean, that's really irresponsible behavior because it's wasteful. And what do you, I would say, okay, what do you do? What do you take time for? So are we going to have to cut out the reruns of Oprah Winfrey or The View? Are we going to have to cut them out so that you can, prioritize? It sounds like your priorities are off there, Nancy. They're way off. If you say that you don't have time to start seedlings, it's very quick. It doesn't take much time, and it puts you ahead of the game. If you just throw them out there on the ground, that's a waste of seeds. But if you don't care about eating, maybe that's what you ought to do. This is good. Andy's got it. All right. He says, Ben, is that really safe to consume? All right. So he's casting doubt on the effectiveness and the safety of water glassing, right? That's a good one. You always got to interject a little fear in there. And it's a rhetorical question. So Andy is not saying, Ben, that's unsafe to do. So he's putting it in Ben's camp. And if Ben says, oh yeah, absolutely safe, it never goes wrong or anything like that, well, that wouldn't be true, because we've pulled eggs out, and when you crack them into a bowl, it's like, well, I'm not eating that. Something wrong with that. It doesn't smell good. So is it totally safe? No, you got to use a little common sense here. If you think every egg that you buy from the store is just 100% good egg, why? Because it's got a little USDA tab on there. We've gotten bad eggs out of the store. I think at one time or another. Okay, so he's interjecting a little bit of fear in there, right? And I would say, Andy, my brother, if you are afraid to eat them, then you just go hungry. But if you're getting really hungry and it's time to eat one of those water glass eggs, tell you what, why don't you smell it before you put it in your mouth? That would be a smart thing. Okay. Okay, Nicole. You're not being a devil's advocate. That's okay. Nicole can do anything. I didn't die yet. Okay. And then Andy, kind of bolsters my side. Me too, Nicole. We ate year-old eggs that were great. I just watched it on Heart of the Homestead. That sounds like a good one. Where would I find a pig for $150? Nicole says. Do you know how to get to Baker's Green Acres? There you go. Well, I don't have full-grown pigs. I have. I may have a couple feeders. So if you need a couple feeders, but that story was from Lorna, and she said a neighbor of hers was at the auction, and they were selling full-size pigs. They weren't great pigs; they weren't like Mangalitzes, but they were selling full-size pigs for $150. Joe Higgins brought a bull here the other day. I needed a bull, and he paid $775 for it, and that is what it would have brought going across the scale to slaughter. So you think if you invested, let's say you have a pickup truck, and let's say you invest in a trailer, a livestock trailer, let's just say an old horse trailer. That's like an old standby. And then you go to the sale, and then you buy a cow. Nobody's bidding on it, and then you buy it, and you bring it home, and you're ready, and bango, you kill that cow, and you roll it out on the ground, and you have a place that you've set up, a pad, maybe a concrete pad, or maybe just a gravel pad, and you've got a tree with a heavy limb that you can use a 1-ton hoist and pull that cow up and get her skun out, and then opened up, take out the things that you can use, the liver, the heart, spleen, a lot of the things that you can use, and then just the rest of it can go to your pigs or your chickens. The hide can be cut up into pieces and processed, and then you can make a winter jacket out of it, or maybe not. That's a lot of work, but it would be a good thing to learn how to do. And then you can start chunking it up and get it in a refrigerator or get it in a cooler or something, and then have somebody canning right there so you can put it in cans or freeze it. Just make stew beef, or even if you don't know the cuts, if you do a little bit of basic research, you should be able to figure out what's edible, what's not. And then all the bones can be broken up and used in bone broth. Bone broth is so good. I eat it. I drink it for breakfast every day. It's just so good. All right. Okay. Ice. Okay, Mark, I'll look for it. Look for what? Oh, yep. Jill's video on water glassing. Yeah, that was good, Andy. That was good. Okay, because there's no real reason not to create some food, right? There really isn't. It really isn't. When you get down to basics, as the head of household, that should be your main thought process, especially if you've decided, okay, I want to be a homesteader. Your first priority is to feed your family, and then feeding your animals does feed your family. I mean, I know that if I really needed to get a flush of calories to take care of some situation, they're all out there walking around. And because we have the process somewhat down of butchering and a place to do it, and we've done it a bunch of times, I'm fairly confident that we could pull it off. I know we could pull it off. And even if the conditions got rough, like let's say there was no electricity and I had to do it at night in my underwear and all that, I'm still fairly confident that I could do it. Right. So a lot of what this is about is you better start getting lean and mean, because I don't think anybody's going to do it for you. I get that feeling. And let's say President Trump comes back, and then the Department of Agriculture comes out to everybody's houses and they put in a couple hours helping us do stuff, and they give us dollars, they give us money and stuff, and they just tell fun jokes, and we just love the Department of Agriculture. That's not really going to help us, as we have to be more resilient, and being more resilient means having a better understanding of what our food needs are, our food process is, where it comes from, how it's done. This one guy that I listened to today he seemed to be a little smarter than the average bear, and I don't know as I exactly went with his take, and he was a little on the negative Nelly side, I thought. I don't remember his name, but he was Canadian for sure. And he was saying that, well, even if you start getting into food production right now, and I agree with him on this, there's a learning curve to this. This is not like, okay, I'm going to plant a garden this year, and I would say, gee, did you have one last year? No, I've never actually done it. Oh, well then when your seeds sprout, you're not going to really know the difference between what you planted and the weeds, will you? I suppose I'll know. Why would you if you've never done this? See, there's a lot to this. Do you know anything about soil health? Soil health. What do I need to know about that? There's a lot to it. There really is a lot to it. So if it's your first time, you can plan on having some disasters. You can kind of plan on that. I don't think anybody that does a garden for the first time would just have a breeze. I mean, we've been doing it for how many years, me and Jill, and we still, all of a sudden, what's this? Never saw this before. Potato bugs. Wow. When those things come on, and I think it's because we're planting them too early. I think we're supposed to be planting them a little bit later. Anyway, there's all kinds of things, and there's so many people to listen to about gardening. There's so much good information out there. To say, well, I don't know how to do it. Well, that's a pretty poor excuse. But when you're starving, when you're hungry, or you'd had to say, oh well, I've spent everything I made this week just putting gas in my car, paying the rent, and the rest I spent on food, and you really didn't get much, that you have to stretch, and no more eating out, and all that's gone. Then you can say, okay, well, I made the sacrifice, and this is what I get. I didn't feel like educating myself to learn how to feed myself, so this is what I get. So then you live with it. Don't complain at this point. And a lot of people won't do this anyway. I mean, they may agree with me, but they're not going to do it anyway. I have a group of friends or people that I associate with, that they're like, yeah, there's going to be food shortages. What are you doing about it? Nothing. They don't want to. They just don't want to. Other things have priorities. Fine. Okay, Andy, we did get a quarter of our food for 5 in a 15 by 15 garden and 5 laying hens. If I had brought my whole quarter acre into production, we could have 8 90% from our city lot. You don't know the city lot, though, are you? We did a quarter of our food. No. Okay. Yeah, you can grow a ton of stuff, and there is some really slick things going on out there. I saw this frame that a guy made that he's just putting 5-gallon buckets in, and I thought it looked really cool. I mean, I don't need to do it, but I just think it looks really cool. Cold frames is another way to go. You can really get some gains on those. Some people are doing greenhouses. Greenhouses are really good. We can extend the season here. We ate out of the greenhouse the other day for the first time this season. You know, it's just, there's stuff out there that's just seeded itself and is growing. Jill picked a bunch of weeds and stuff and fed it to me. Huh. Listening to the podcast on Bards FM, Scott Kesterson is from my hometown. How about that? How about that? Not from Alabama. Angus says, empty store shelves or not, I bought extra veggies last year. Whatever was in season, I dehydrated it. Yep, that's another way, dehydrating. You know, I could see you doing that, Inga. I really could. Okay, Nancy's saying, I bought some seeds and the instructions are terrible. No month when to start seed or plant time. I'll just plant them just after snow melts. Ooh, I don't know about that. Oh, is that devil's advocate thing? I don't think you should do that. What I would do, there's a book that we have that I really, really like. It is Reader's Digest Back to Basics. And it's got a lot of information about gardening in it, and you can still get it. I've had mine for 30 years or 27-ish, something like that. Jay Struggling. Saying hi. How you doing? Good. Okay, isn't Walmart and Costco stockpiling? Why should I worry? They will take care of me. No, actually, they're not stockpiling. They're not looking out for you. They're looking out for their shareholders. So if they deem that it's more expedient for them to just shut the store down that's in your neighborhood, they'll do it. And they don't care about you. They were never there to care about you. It's all about their shareholders. Oh, Jay, struggling. Hey, I asked these guys to play devil's advocate so I could give answers, because usually it's a pretty agreeable group, and I think I try to cover the bases, what people will say. And Dion is actually a friend of mine, so is Andy and Nancy, and I asked them to be playing devil's advocate. So don't worry about it. Dion, are you for real? No, he's doing it. He's doing it on purpose. All right. Okay, Angus says, I saved tons of money and avoided the stores most of the winter and had no food wasted. Such a good feeling. Yeah, I think that hard times would force us to be like our grandparents were. You know, your grandparents that were, they'd take the saran wrap off the meat and then wash that and then spread it out, let it dry, and then fold it up and store it away so they could use it. No, I'm not buying it. I'm not going to buy this stuff. Or tin foil. Oh, this is about the 15th time we've spread this out and used it. I had some neighbors back in Montana when I lived in town. This is before we moved out to the farm there. And this woman and her husband was a tire man. He worked for a tire dealership his whole life. He had a picture in the living room of him down next to a tire with his shirt on that said his name on it. His name was Raleigh. And by the time I knew him, he wasn't talking very much. He was pretty old. And her name was Elsie. She's gone by now, I'm sure. But I moved in next door and I was friendly with them. I helped them do a couple things. And one time she came over and she said, "Could you help us go pick up some wood?" And I said, "Sure." Because they had a pickup truck, but they didn't drive anymore, right? They still owned it, kept it registered and insured, but they didn't drive anymore. And she had seen an ad for free wood. And the house that I lived in was the house they used to own. It was the house that they moved into when they were first married. But then they built another house, and the house next door was nice. It was all brick. It was nice. Had central heating and central air conditioning and all that stuff. Not that they ever used it, but this is back in 94, and they were in their 90s. So they were the same age as my parents, who lived through the Depression, probably born in 1918 or 1915, something like that. So anyway, they asked me if I would help them get this wood. And we drove up to someone's house, and they had a bunch of old 2x4s and just construction materials and stuff piled by the side of the road. It was all full of nails and everything else. And I said, "You don't want that probably, huh?" "Oh yeah, we want that." And so I loaded it basically. Raleigh, he couldn't load any of it. I loaded it all, and then we took it back, and then they said, "That's okay, we'll unload it." Now, this was a big load of junk wood. And, somebody had done a remodel on a house, and they tore all this stuff out. It was old 2x4s, all full of nails, and other stuff, too. There was even sheetrock there. No, not sheetrock. It was the laths, that they do the horsehair plaster on. That, and they took it all. They wanted it all. And I got up and I went to work, and then I'd come home, and our backyards were together, so I could see what they were doing over there. And they had a garden, and they had different things that they did, place where they sat. And anyway, they were working on this, and he had a skill saw out there, and everything that came off that truck, they took out every single nail. They had a little table, and they would straighten the nails, and then they put them in jars. Any jar that they got from the store, well, they never threw those away. Nope. Their garage was full of jars and cans too, tin cans. He couldn't throw a tin can away. That's useful. But he had a lot of them. And when I did go in their garage, it's like, oh, they've been doing this a long time. They weren't like pack rats, but nothing went to waste. Nothing. There was twine, and there was rope, and there was newspaper stacked up, and everything. And then it was turned in, and they would get whatever they got for it. And that was what the truck was for, actually. They were scroungers. That was what they did. And finally that pile of wood was gone, all cut up, stacked. And burning it in their house, they had an insert in their living room, and they closed down the rest of the house, and they would just live in their room and the living room and the kitchen. They kept it all closed down, and they'd heat it with wood as much as they could. And they had money. They really did, because I bought the house from them, the house that I lived in. So, but that's how they were. And we're not like that as baby boomers. I'm the last of the baby boomers here, because we open a bottle and throw the top away. Done with it, throw the bottle away. You know, we always just a throwaway society. Jill's not here, so I said, paper plates. Let's do paper plates. Sorry, Jill. But Rachel didn't want to go with that. She didn't want to. So, but I think that's part of, you want to give yourself a raise, lower your standard of living. Lower it. Nothing should be going in the trash. Nothing should go in the trash. Everything can be used. It's like we have the wood stove here, right? I had to start it up today, by the way. Got down to like 40 degrees. And junk mail comes in the mail. And it always kind of makes me mad that they're delivering this to me. I didn't ask them for it. And then I have to put it in my trash that I have to pay to get rid of. Not me. It comes in the house, and there's a nice little place that we made by the wood stove that junk mail goes there. And then, okay, they deliver it to me. I'm going to turn it into BTUs to heat the house. I mean, it's just a little bit, but it makes me feel good that I don't have to carry it up from the mailbox, or somebody does, and then it's got to go in the trash that I have to take out. I don't like that. I like the idea of, all right, let's release the energy that's in that. We got to heat this house, so we'll do it. Helios is with us. Right on. Yeah. Helios has a question. Hey, Mark, I have a farmer advocate question. Can I ask that here? You sure can. And then that'll be my last one because I got things I got to do. The newest insanity, don't fill your bird feeders. Yeah. Don't fill. Oh, no. The bird flu. Aren't you onto these guys by now? Don't fill your bird. You're contributing to global warming by doing that. Edgar Jacobs. Do still have feeders? Yeah, a guy's bringing me 4 of them tomorrow. So I'm going to see how big they are. I'm not sure how much they'll go for. But you got my phone number, don't you? So give me a call. I'm too old to plant and take care of animals. Oh, but you're not too old to starve. I think you ought to get over it and quit your whining. That's what I said to Keith the other day. It was kind of mean. My kid was like, "You said that to him?" He was struggling with something, and he says, oh, I gotta go. And I quit your whining, But he's really got some things, some health issues. But like that's a perfect example. Keith has got some things. He got hit by a car one time and wound up with a bad infection in his brain and stuff. But he's still doing it. I mean, now he's doing rabbits. He's getting ready to get his pigs. So, I mean, everything that I do at 62 is harder than it was when I was 42. Everything, even getting out of bed in the morning. It's not as easy as it used to be. But, that's part of getting lean and mean. Nicole, I know where to buy my feeders, but I couldn't butcher that right away. Well, why not? I mean, if you have a reason why you couldn't butcher it right away, let's say that you brought a pig home in your trailer. You've invested some money in a trailer. Trailer is a good thing to have. I seem to think that it's better than having a pickup, actually. It seems to me, I love the van, the man van. When I finished up tonight, I slid the door shut and that was it. If it was a pickup truck, I couldn't leave all those tools in the back. And pickups, you ever notice? You got to reach over and if something's in the middle of the bed, can't reach it. And then I got to climb up in the back of the stupid thing. I don't want to do that. So the man van is a good thing. And then I have several trailers that I can put behind it. That works out really good. So a trailer for hauling livestock around, that's a nice thing to have. It really is. And I have one that's just a trailer that I put a box on. I built a box on it, and I can't carry cattle with that one, but I have a cattle trailer that I use. But I don't think I'm going to be trailering cattle around. I might even sell my fifth wheel. I don't need it. I got a fifth wheel stock trailer that I did not use it last year or the year before, so I'm not sure that I want to keep it. Okay. Helios Farm. Whenever I shoot a mature boar with a 22 mag, the bullet just flattens on their head or bounces off. A 308 works, but it pulverizes the skull. What size gun do you use when you harvest an old boar? I use a 22 mag, and what you're doing is you're using the wrong bullet. You're using the wrong bullet, and I don't mean the case. I don't mean the cartridge itself. I mean the actual projectile on the end. If that bullet is smashing out on his skull, then it's the wrong bullet. Now, I use a 30 grain, which isn't the heaviest bullet. It's called a VMAX. And right now, I had this conversation with Devin today, and I still maintain that I have the combination right now. I'm using a 22 mag with a 30 grain VMAX, and I am 12 for 12. 12 bullets, 12 dead pigs. A 308 is that's so overkill. And actually, you're not going to get a good clean kill with a 308 because the way you achieve a good clean kill is when you transfer the potential energy. It goes back to like physics, but in that bullet, the cartridge case, there is powder in there. It's actually nitro. It's nitroglycerin impregnated into cardboard is what it really is. That's what smokeless powder is. It's nitroglycerin, and it's got some other components in it too. But it's basically nitro. And what you want to do is you want to get all that energy, the potential energy in that, and transfer it to the bullet, which is going to travel a distance and then transfer as much into that animal as possible, as much of that energy. So with a 308, that bullet, I don't care what bullet you use, the 308's got so much power, it's going to go through the head of that pig. And then you're going to have a bunch of jelly in the head that you don't want. You could ruin the jowls, you could destroy the tongue. Definitely not going to have any brain for your scrambled eggs and brains. So 308 is way, way overkill. So Devin calls me today, actually sent me a picture. And I didn't have time to study it very much. But I know where he's going with this. And I don't think we agree on this. Okay. He drew a little blue circle around a bullet hole. And, we both had opined to each other that we're having a problem with kills lately. I had a string of really bad ones with my 22 mag, and then I switched over to my 30 carbine, and I was still having some real trouble, and they weren't good, clean kills. I would have the bullet travel down through the head and come out the bacon on the side and just do a lot of damage, or travel down in, get stuck in the jowl. And that's not what we really want. If that happens, then the energy that's in that case is expelling itself in the ground. You know, we don't want that. So I didn't actually do any reading. I just did some testing. I got my 22 out, my 22 mag, and I started testing different bullets. I used a 2x4, right? No, I started with a 2x4, but then I switched over to a 1-inch pine board, a 1-inch pine board. And I started doing some testing with that. And when I got to the 30 grain VMAX, the backside of the board had a big hole in it. And so that told me that my bullet had penetrated, but then on the backside of that board, it had opened up. And I want it to open up after it's gone through the skull. Because if it goes only 1 or 2 more inches, then it's going to transfer all that energy right into the brain area, and it's just going to shock it. But if I just punch a hole through, you know, with a solid bullet, then I'm not doing that. I'm kind of relying on more of a hemorrhage to take the animal out, and that can take a long time when you're using something like a 22 bullet, a 22 mag bullet. For your information, a 22 mag, it's a 22 bullet. They use a better quality bullet, and you have several options, but then there's a little bit more in the case than a 22 long rifle. And they're a little bit more expensive, a little louder, but they definitely have a lot more punch than a 22 mag. So Devin used a 32 Winchester, or 32 Special, which is like a 30-30, but the bullet is a little bigger. It's a 32 caliber bullet. And he's using a bullet on there that's a cast bullet, and he's had pretty good luck for a long time, but today he shot that pig 3 times. And he was doing a class. He was showing people how to do it. And I don't know, I've told him about the 30 grain VMAX, and he's like, nah, I used to use those, and I'm not going to use them anymore. They were coming apart when they came out of the gun. I never had that happen, and I'm using a Ruger American rifle. But what I think you should do, Kira, is look at the bullet that you're using. Just get that 30 grain VMAX if you can find it, and that one works good. And I've shot cows with it, and it works really, really good. All right, Nancy's gonna drop off. She's at the cabin. Okay, Debbie's with us, folks. If you have any questions for Mark, please use all capital letters so he knows that it's for him. Thank you. Yep, right on. And the thumbs up too. That's what we need. Okay. Okay, that was our last place. Okay, before you retired, Panama City. Okay, yep. And you were saying? I was pulling nails today from 2x4s to repurpose them for my rabbit shed. Speaking of nails in wood, yeah. Anyone can farm experience, huh? Moms always find out. That's why I listen to the show. You're spying. Save newspapers, flyers, cardboard, add twigs and leaves, moisten, press into blocks, and heat with it. Yeah. Bryce is with us. Bryce is pretty consistently about halfway through the show. He comes in. Right on, Bryce. I was talking about you, Bryce. That's why. How much for a stock trailer? How much for my stock trailer? I'd say probably 1,800 bucks. Yeah, placement is important too. It surely is. One of the things that we do in the Homestead Hog Harvest is when we saw that skull in half, you can really see what has happened when that bullet goes in. And I am really impressed with the VMAX because it shatters all of the structure right in that brain area, and it kind of mushes the brain too. So The last one that I killed was really a big one. It was 500 pounds, and Joe videotaped it. So you will be able to see that. But it was a devastating shot. And her eyes went back in her head. She went completely erect, and then timber, boom, you could hear her hit the ground. That's how out of it she was when she hit the ground. I'm not using the 30 carbine anymore, Andy. I started having problems with it. I mean, it's a great gun. I listened to a lot of accounts of the war in the islands, the Solomon Islands, and American GIs did not like the 30 carbine. They didn't. They thought you could shoot people with them a lot, and they would keep coming. They really liked the Garand, and they did not like the Tommy gun either. So it's just the accounts that I hear. Yeah, a Tommy gun was cool to carry around, but it didn't do the job that the M1 Garand did. But 30-06, that's a lot of power. No, Helios is saying I've been using a 40 grain 22 mag bullet, and the 308 is better. No, I don't think it is. I really don't. I think the 22 mag is more than sufficient. You are just using the wrong bullet. Now, when you say 40 grain, that's the weight of the bullet, but it could be a solid, it could be a hollow point, it could be, I've got some that are gaping hollow points, and they're not going to penetrate anything. They're for soft tissue. It's a soft tissue bullet. You need something like you need the 30 grain VMAX. You're a good one. Andy says, let the pig go in the woods, then you will be good with the 30-30. Won't work in the pasture, no brush. Yeah, 30-30. It's a good brush gun, right? It's a good brush gun. I would love to take a look at the trailer either before or on Tribe Day. You are welcome to, my man. You'd be more than welcome to. I can even send you a picture of it if you like. We are 100% on 8-month-old Berkshires. It's the 6-year-old end of life boars. Oh, well, when you're shooting a 6-year-old boar with a 308, I'm sure they're going down, right? And you're not using them for human food. You're probably using them for pet food. I mean, I don't think you could eat a 6-year-old boar if you had to. Although that's a funny subject right there. Some people are like, "Oh, I think they taste great." I know a woman out in Maine, Deborah Evans, and she has customers that like that taste in the dry cured sausages that she has somebody make for her. And she sent some to me, and it was like, this tastes like the bathroom, near a well-used urinal smells to me. But that's a touchy subject. Some people can smell it and some people can't. Let's see. Braided Acres. They claim no flavor change. And I know him good. He's a smart guy. But me, I that has not been my experience. I always can smell that urinating on a campfire smell whenever I eat a boar or even open a boar up. I just cannot use it for food. Sometimes we have no taint, even in old boars. Then they become sausage. To me, they all have taint. To me, they all have taint. If they have their testicles, they have taint, even young ones. All right, I'll send you pics, Justin, tomorrow. Can't take them now. I got a little bit of work to do outside because I quit early. Okay, we're an hour and a half in, so I'm going to sign off here. We do have Pastured Poultry Day coming up. I don't have my dates with me. Maybe Jill can interject those. And we have the Tribe Day coming up. Tribe Day is going to be hot stuff. I'll just tell you. We worked on the campground this weekend, Joe and I and the boys, and we got a lot done. We're building an overhang off the back of the garage, and we're going to put in like a community campground, community campfire area. We're going to have a refrigerator in there and a little check-in station, and a couple picnic tables. And then we've accomplished about 5 campsites that are pretty nice. They're going to have water on them. And at some point, I got to talk with Justin about running wire out to these and how to do that from 100 amp box. I'm not sure how I'm going to do that. June 11th, Pastured Poultry and Chicken Processing. That's a good one. We had a real fun time last year. And I would just like to ask Dion, okay, Dion, you went to it once. Why wouldn't you come again? Why wouldn't you? There's my question for you. We could have more fun. All right. I got to get going. I'm tired, Pilgrim. I didn't sleep good last night for some reason. Maybe because my woman isn't home with me. All right, everybody's heading in. Not sure what the subject's going to be about tomorrow, but we can talk more about this processing idea. This is a good idea for these times. Notice they're knocking out processing places. They didn't get enough of them. It's just going to be they're able to say, well, this is why everything's costly. You know, they can justify what Devin calls the dip shit factor. They can justify it. And, you know, everybody does. And I even do now, you know, like if I were to get pulled over and have brake light out, I'd just say COVID. You know, I normally I would, but COVID, you know. I ran into somebody today that wound up in the hospital and was told that he had COVID pneumonia. He definitely had pneumonia. He's a neighbor, and he's in pretty rough shape. I thought COVID was over. All right, everybody's heading in. Good night. I'm going to head in myself. Good night. We'll catch you the next time, tomorrow night, 8 o'clock.